questions for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It may be tough to get it all in 5 minutes, so help me here, Mr. Bragdon, and if we can be brief. How many states last year had a waiver from the work requirement?
It's important to look at it at the county level, and about 37% of Americans are childless adults on food stamps are waived from any work requirement. Almost the entire state of Illinois, where the doctor's from, almost the entire state of California. So you have wide swaths where there's low unemployment, but the state chooses to waive.
Michigan had a statewide waiver for quite a
They
period of
did,
time.
but they're restoring it now.
They're just restoring it now. Dr. Gunderson, we're going to have fun because I went to school in economics and public policy. Michigan State, not Illinois. I would agree with you that work requirements and fraud really don't have much relationship, so we have something we agree on. But let's start with it is a cost to taxpayer. Whether people aren't working and could be and should be, or whether it's fraud, it's still a cost to taxpayer, which ultimately matters here. You need to explain to me why it is that you don't believe work requirements will have an impact when, in fact, the unemployment rate in Michigan, or nationwide, state that is 3.9%, in Michigan it's about 4.2. The highest percentage of people not participating in the labor force are able-bodied men, 25 to 45, 50. By the way, before we get to stereotypes, mostly Caucasian males. So explain to me how it is that a work requirement saying if you can work, you should work. If you need skills, you should get training. Why that isn't something that makes sense to you as an economist?
So I say this for a couple of reasons. First of all, I want to get back to this thing. You know, we're all taxpayers here. We have to remember that SNAP recipients also are taxpayers.
Dr. Gunderson, I have 5 minutes.
Okay.
I asked you a question. I would appreciate it if you answered.
No, I was just clarifying this thing about the taxpayers. So why shouldn't we have this is that work requirements is that the ones that we have in place now is that for whatever reason some people are not working. The point I want to make about this, though, is that if I truly believe that SNAP was discouraging people from working, if there was something...
The question isn't whether they're discouraging. That's the wrong assessment to make. The question is whether there's an expectation to work and there's an incentive to work, not whether they're being discouraged. Our systems, our support systems, and Mr. Kristamorthy is leaving, but I know we've talked about it, is that we shouldn't say are we doing something to discourage people from working. We should say is the expectation to work. This program is not intended as a lifestyle for long term.
Well, if I can respond, it's not a lifestyle for the long term. The average length of time on SNAP is 9 months. So in other words, most people cycle on and off the program into work, and right, that's true. Off work, onto work, and these are the things so whether or not I mean, we already have work requirements, and I'm not making an argument we should.
Well, we have work requirements, but as Mr. Bragdon noted, and 37% of the country last year weren't covered by work requirements for one reason or not, despite historically low unemployment rates. Second, the work requirements we have don't apply to a great number of people, many of which would fit in that category you expect to work, able-bodied working adults that are young males. So while we have them, they're not working.
So, right, you know, 37% of counties is, we'd have to look carefully at each of those counties. If you look at Illinois,
I think you said 37% of the population.
37% of the population. So it's worthwhile to have a discussion. Why is a particular county not getting? Why is a particular county getting a waiver and another county's not? That's definitely something we should be pursuing.
Then let us not say, as we testify or as we answer questions, that we have work requirements so they don't matter. Because the reality is, last year, 37% of the population on SNAP were not affected by work requirements under the current law. That's fact.
No, I'm not denying that. No.
And it matters. Let me change topics because I have 1 minute left, if I can. We make a distinction, which I think is artificial, between the error rate and fraud. The question is, I guess, what do we do with states, Ms. Coffey, that have some extraordinary error rates? What is the penalty for states? Because ultimately it still costs the taxpayers, whether it's fraud or whether it's errors. The reality is it's money out of our pocket that shouldn't be.
In terms of what the penalty is for the states, that's not something for investigations that we necessarily focus on. That's something that my audit colleagues have had work that has been completed relative to the error rates with respect to SNAP in the state.
Let me stop you a second. There are some states I've noted that have some significant error rates. They're not minor. but we don't have any process by which to take action with the state in terms of a significant percentage in ongoing error rates. It's, gee, we hope you do better.
I don't believe that's the case. I just can't articulate what that process is at this time.
Could you ask back at your agency to let the committee report to the committee
Absolutely.
what their process is for dealing with states that fail to, under the current regulations, even properly manage their program and error rates? Because, in fact, there should be, in some manner, sanctions upon states that fail to manage the program because it's other people's money. That's not an acceptable outcome.
Absolutely, I will do that, sir.
Thank you for your consideration, Mr. Chair. I yield back.
Thank the gentleman for his questions.